So I have shared in other platforms about a download that I received about what is possibly happening on Earth. I am not the only person that has got a download like this. And to be honest, I did not want to believe it until I received it myself. About 2 weeks ago, I sat down and I felt the spirit team that I work with coming through wanting to give information to me on how to understand what in the heck is happening here on Earth with the Epstein files, with the war, with all the chaos with ice. Like, so much is happening on Earth right now that it kind of can be alarming. But I hate to say it this way. From a spiritual perspective, it is all the battle of energy. When my spirit team takes me to a broader comprehension outside of my human experience and they show me the point of view from of them looking down at earth, what they show me is they show me two different energies colliding together is what they show. Like, they'll show me a dark energy and a light energy, like light and darkness, like kind of merging together. And what is interesting is when they give me that perspective from their point of view, is that the dark energy has been more than the light on earth. But what's taking place is there's been a shift happening, and that's what's going to eventually push us all into newer earth energy if we allow that to take place. We're in the middle of a very important timeline shift on earth where we are being given the exact same opportunities that earth and humans were given thousands of years ago with Atlantis. And the history of our planet, the history of humanity, the cycles of the earth are all going to start to come into our awareness, where we're going to start to learn about advanced civilizations that were repressed and hidden from us. We're going to learn about how we've had contact with extraterrestrials for the beginning of time, that we are actually kind of created from these beings that came to Earth, and that there are extraterrestrials that kind of are what we will say ruling the human race at this time. And that is what this download is about. So I am just going to read to you directly what the download was. And if they give me any more information about this, I will share that. They did tell me when I received this download that I had to be careful about who I told. So if you come across this video, that means that you're ready to receive this information. I am going to encourage you to sit with it, to not freak out by it, but to understand that we are being told this because we're ready for this. So I'm sending the belief and manifestation out at this point that those who are meant to receive this will see it. If you are not, then at this point, I'm just going to believe that you are just going to scroll on from this video and not even engage with it. If you do engage with it, I would love if you would support me by subscribing, by liking, by commenting, engaging, so that I can continue to share these intuitive messages. I have a pretty large following on some other platforms. And I'm trying to switch over to YouTube to build up over here, which has been a little bit harder for me. But if you do follow me anywhere else, I would love for you to follow me here as well. So here's the download. I have it written. So when I work with my spirit team and channeling, which I did channel, actually, it's back here. These are my books that I wrote. Parables for a New Earth is the book I channeled with the Wisdom Keepers. I 100% highly recommend getting this book. Even though I've written two other books, out of all my books that I have, that's the one I'm going to say you must have, you must get. If you are deconstructing from religion, grab my first book, Leaf Lessons. And my second book, Composting the Ego, also has some help with deconstructing from religion as well. And both of these might be supportive for you on your journey. So let's dive into this channeled message now. So, this is me just simply writing down what the wisdom keepers said to me. They said, "We are here to assist you with this transmission of energy and explain to you about basically what's happening here on Earth." And this is what they say. So, when time began here on Earth, there were many different frequencies that came together to create this human race. So, what they're saying here, and I'll maybe stop to explain this, what they're saying is that other beings from other planets came to help create humans. And I think if you follow like Bashar or any other channeler, that they might explain a little bit more about how that took place. I know the Anunnaki and like the Greys, and I think there was one other race that helped create some of this. Is my mind is not thinking about that right now, but basically from the beginning of time, the human race was a part of a project kind of that was created, and it wasn't ever really truly meant to go as dark as it's been. But what took place thousands, millions of years, however long humans have been on Earth, is that there was DNA and offspring brought or merged with like human body. This is actually still happening. And there are people on Earth that are more of a hybrid, which could be have more of a like more extraterrestrial DNA or energy within them than more of a. I mean, not that they're not fully human as well, but I am a hybrid. And some interesting things about me is how I connect with spirit. This is why I can connect with the wisdom keepers. And my bone density is pretty intense. Like I have a very thick bone density, and I have extra bones in my body. And so it's an interesting thing to look at when you kind of comprehend a hybrid beyond the human logic. Some other evidence I have is contact with UFOs, extraterrestrials coming to visit me, and my mom having visitations while she was pregnant with me. So I don't have all the answers about how I know this about myself. I'm still exploring this. And as a human being that has had human thoughts up until I really started to awaken in 2016, it's taken a little bit for me to wrap my mind around this, but there's been so much confirmation. And so the reason I share this with you is because I want to give you a little bit of hope as I read through this that there are beings here that are here to support and to hold light. Anybody that came to be more of a hybrid light being or a starseed, light worker, healer, helper of the earth, we're here to help anchor in the light on the grid of the earth so that we can make it through this time that we're in. So that is basically what they're describing here when they say in the beginning of the time on Earth, there were many different frequencies that came together to create the human race. However, the experience became corrupt due to the frequency of Earth becoming dense because of the energies that spirits must manifest into while they are here on Earth. So, what they're saying here is the physical density of the planet Earth, or the realm, the dimension that was Earth was created in a third dimension energy, is a dense, heavy energy compared to other dimensions. So in this place, in this dimension, there's a an ability to fully disconnect from your higher self in a way that you don't, not that you disconnect, like we never stop. We're always connected to our truth. We're always connected to source. There is no separation from God. Like literally, there's no hell that separates us. We separate ourselves from God. We are the ones that have free will, where we step outside of God's frequency and energy, and we project a belief that we are separated. But there's always a way back, because there's always a belief back to God. So we can And God, I'm meaning by source energy, by the frequency of our creator, not necessarily this religious God that's up in the sky, like judging humanity. That does not exist. So this is the creator of all of us. So Earth is a very different frequency than the rest of the universe, which gives us as spirits the ability to come here and basically pretend that we don't know who we are, which we're all remembering at this point with this great awakening we're going through. As beings became physical and humanity was created, the ego, which is within the human mind, which was originally only meant to keep humans grounded on Earth to have an experience, became dark. This caused some to become focused on darkness, which then allowed some of the beings within the experience to become dense and controlling. So what they're saying, if I can recap all this, is as these beings of light that were coming to Earth to help create humans, some of those beings got a little bit more merged with the density and the ego than other beings, if this is making sense. I'll just keep going here. This caused some of them to become focused on the darkness, which then allowed some of the beings within the experience to become dense. Due to some of these beings remaining open and remembering who they are as light beings, yet existing within the density of Earth's dimension, so the lower vibration, they realized that they could have control. So they began to take place upon the earth. And over time, these reptilian beings realized that they needed to transform into human form in order to fit in, but they also needed to stay hidden within the human race in order to use their energy, to use humans' energy to manifest the ability to remain in the human body and stay in power over humans. Because if humans woke up and realized who they were, the power structures would collapse and they, the reptilians, would lose control. This would reset the pattern, so the pattern is like what I would say the quantum field, the energy of of Earth. This would reset the pattern and cause them to lose control and manifest back into the original frequencies where they do not have control. So here's the thing. Reptilians are an interesting race within the universe because they're a lot like human, where we have really amazing humans that are loving and kind and generous, and we have really bad humans that are angry and, I don't have to describe that. But that's kind of how I see the reptilian race. There are still reptilians within their dimension in their planetary system that are very loving, kind beings. They're reptilians that want to support and help humanity. And then there are reptilians that have been on Earth, that are stuck on Earth because of the density and because they know how to shapeshift to remain in power and control. Now, I will explain more of who I think might be reptilian and who is not in the energy that I pick up. But I will say that we don't necessarily always see the reptilians in public. They are more so in the background controlling the system or controlling other beings or humans that might be more in the front lines that we can connect with. So one of the things that when I tune into the energy of like Trump, for example, I do not feel reptilian energy with Trump. What I do feel is a manipulated spirit and ego and in many ways a being of light that came to fully disconnect from its understanding of being a frequency of God and playing a very I don't even know how to describe this, like, hard role for humanity. Not and this is I struggle with this because I don't want to like give this idea that I support this at all, but from the higher frequencies, from the fifth, sixth, seventh, all the way up to the 12th dimension, which the wisdom keepers reside in, they can see the energy, and they can see, even though this person is very dark in their energy field, they're playing a role of exposing darkness as well. I hope this is making sense. So they're saying that if humans woke up, that the patterns in the quantum field would shift and the reptilians would no longer have control. This is much like what you might, so they're describing the reptilians here. They're saying this is much like what you might call fallen angels. It was not necessarily that angels fell, rather that they became consciously focused in the density so in the density of earth, due to the corruption created through the frequency, the third dimension frequency and dimension, and they began to have children with the humans. Okay. So I'm going to stop there for a second because this is a lot to wrap your mind around, I'm sure. But and if you have questions, please go ahead and put them below. I will write down your questions if you want me to ask the wisdom keepers anything else about this. Also, come join my Ascension membership so you can directly ask questions to the wisdom keepers. I channel every Wednesday. I send out a private Zoom link. I am attempting to get this to show up on my YouTube live. I haven't been very good at that. But if you want to directly ask questions yourself, be in the membership every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. And then we also have a monthly gathering, like a support group, like for awakened people that are just awakening or have been awakened. But we do meet once a month for that. And I also have my healer circle if you want a little bit more of advanced mentoring and support from a bunch of women that get together like 3 times a month. So that being said, this is something you could ask them directly if you desire. So what I thought was interesting when they said this is much like what you call fallen angels is, from my background of being in religion, I know that the Bible talks about fallen angels. And this makes sense to me now because I always wondered, the Bible does say that the beings of like these fallen angels begin to have, sexual relationship with the humans and create offspring. So there are people on earth that have like reptilian energy within them. It doesn't mean that they act as a negative reptilian. It means that they just have these DNA with them. But this is also why these beings are very careful about procreating within their own kind of like, well, let's just use this as an example. Literally said he wanted to populate the whole earth with his own DNA. When I look into the quantum field, into the energy, Epstein is still very much alive. When I feel the energy, he's somewhere in, I think, Europe area, like he's overseas. I'm not sure exactly what part, but he's not in America. He's over the Middle East maybe. And I also kind of feel that his the woman, my brain is not working. I know it starts with a G. I do feel her energy not being here in the United States either. So it's very likely that these two people have reptilian energy within them. I feel reptilian energy with them more so than I do with Trump, but I think that Trump is a pawn or like a puppet for them. And he's very able to be manipulated because he loves power. He loves to be in control. He's a psychopathic narcissist. And so if you know anything about narcissism, especially a psychopath narcissist, they don't care about other humans at all. They don't care about human life. And so if you can get somebody like that to do your work for you, then you got it made. You can go do your own thing and hide behind things. Now, the thing is that even Epstein and this woman, Glendale, I can't remember her name, they are not necessarily even the front lines of this. Like, there's so much more that has not been discovered. And as we know, they're not even giving us all the information at this time about the Epstein files, and that's on purpose. They're trying everything they can at this point to keep this information hidden, because if we all were to find this out, then the world would be in chaos. Religion would lose all its power. Like, everything would, like, we literally would collapse the system, which is going to happen at some point, and have to rebuild. That is kind of a whole nother video that I might jump into, but just for the sake of this, I'm going to stay with this channel message. So they're talking about the fallen angels. So the reptilians then began to feed off human energy and bodies. This was also necessary because in order to keep the frequency of Earth low, fear needed to be involved. So they created things such as war, division, different language, and they spread humans throughout the earth so they could not communicate with one another as they have been able to previously. So if you think about it, like discovering other continents, like, and taking over it, and I mean, look at a United States of America. What did we do when we came over here? We we took over. This was not our land until we did that. And it still really isn't. So these things took place with the purpose of hiding history from humanity and keeping humans under control of themselves, really, is what it comes down to. They also took away the ability to understand manifesting and to be able to manifest into different realities and have deeper understanding by shaping the human thought through teaching them um, to think in fear. What they did was, and this is why we literally only hear about negative things on the news. Once in a while we hear about something positive, but this is all made with the attempt to keep humans in a low vibration, because if we're in a low vibration, we can't access our spiritual gifts. We can't access the ability to manifest and connect with other dimensions. We can't raise our vibration. We are very easily controlled if we're taught fear of money, or if we're taught fear of, like, if we come in thinking in poverty, then we stay thinking in poverty. This is also why the schools that we have teach the way they teach, because if you can teach a child specifically before the age of 7 to live in fear of something, then you got them programmed for life, because the human brain stays in the theta state up until around age 7, which then it shifts over into more of an ego state, into a beta state after age 7. And so a human is fully programmable in their mind up until around 8 years old. And so if you teach a human to be in fear the first 7 years of their life, then they're going to live in fear the rest of their life. And so this is why they work so hard on getting religion around. This is why they want to have a Christian nation, because if we live in fear that we have to look to this God outside of us to save us, and this God is literally never going to come save us, you guys. Jesus isn't coming back to save us. We are Jesus. We are the Christ consciousness. We are waking up into that. We are our own saviors. We are going to do this ourselves. Jesus is a being of light that does help, but Jesus is not saving us from ourselves. when we trust the energy that Christ had, or Yeshua had, we tune into that and we integrate it into our energy field, then we can project that into our reality that can change the energy outside of ourselves. So we are really powerful. We have just been taught not to be powerful, or to believe in our own power, and to even fear our own power. Like, as soon as somebody comes out with some kind of a psychic ability or mediumship ability or channeling ability or some strange ability, we're taught to judge it, to question it, to not believe it. And we're all capable. It's not just certain people. Like, every single human is a divine being of light. We all have the same capacity to tune into these things. We're taught to fear it or to question it. Let's see here. So, yeah, so they say when this all took place, humans became reliant on the reptilian beings, which resulted in what you see now in your current world. So, we became reliant on these beings to keep us alive. And I know that sounds really strange, but without even realizing it, we were looking towards the government or to people in power to make sure our life was okay. And there's only like 10% of the population that really controls the world. Humanity was destined to wake up eventually. And that is why the texts remain in cycles about end time prophecies, shifts, and changes. Many countries have gone through this at different times, and that is why figures, and so they use Hitler as an example. Hitler arose. You have not had as much contact with these other countries because they were split apart. Division was created, wars were formed between them, and humans within these countries were kept at odds and fearful of one another. So, we're learning more and more. If you are on like TikTok, I would say that if you are awakened, you're probably on TikTok. I'm noticing that as a trend in the humans I am around. Like, if they're not awakened, they're not likely on TikTok. But more so of us that are awakened follow some kind of a spiritual guide or teacher over there. And then in like Facebook and things like that is less likely, or Instagram is less likely. It is starting to become more prominent all over other social media platforms, but it's interesting that on TikTok specifically, which is why they wanted to repress this from us, that we are hearing from other countries. Like when a lot of us went over to Red Note for a short time, we got to know people from China, and we realized that it was nothing like what the United States was telling us about. We are now hearing from the Iranians, and they're saying, we don't have anything against you. We were taught to not like you. We were taught that you wanted, negative things towards us. So we are taught from children, just like I just said, like the Iranians. I just saw a video today. Like, this woman said, at a very young age, we were taught in our elementary schools to throw the American flag on the ground and, death to America. I hope this does not get censored. I'm saying a lot of things. Hopefully my video I'm not big enough yet to have that happen, but if it does, I will record this and put it on my website, and if you join the Ascension membership, you can go watch it there. Let's see here. Yeah, so they're talking about the awakening. So humans were destined to wake up eventually. We are coming back into a community. We're starting to see each other. We're starting to understand that we all have things in common. We are all just humans wanting to have peace and love and unity on earth. Let's see. They say by creating different languages around the world, it created the inability to communicate and share information. Until recently, the technology that has been created, there has not been a time since Atlantis that this has allowed humans to communicate so clearly with one another. Because of this ability, each human is gaining access to the others, and this is opening the quantum field of consciousness as humans begin to see they are more like others uh, than those beings in control have led them to believe. This is also why Trump is trying so hard to gain control through division, causing because if they keep humans at odd, this feeds to fear, anger, and lowers frequencies so they can remain in control of the conscious mind of humans. If the mind shifts out of the lower frequencies, that creates the awakening. And the more awakened humans become, the less power they have. This is also why you are seeing information coming out about Epstein. These are reptilian beings that have been feeding off humans they are trafficking. It is also why many of those in power or in the public eye are reptilian. They can be reptilian beings, but keeping the attention of the lower frequency beings. So let me like kind of go through this again. So um, some of the people in power are reptilian beings. So I will say, like, when I've tuned into the energy, there can be some reptilians like within like a lot of some of the actors, some of the musicians. It doesn't mean all of them are. Some of the politicians, some of the kind of higher up people in the world. I don't have specifics on this right now. I really haven't spent a lot of time looking into that, but I will say that many of those in power are reptilian beings. And these reptilian beings are more likely, like I said in the beginning, to not be in the public eye as much as some of the others. They have to really shape shift themselves to be in the public eye to appear very human. Um, so they say, we share this with you, trusting that you will know. So they're telling me, we trust that you'll know how to share this and when to share it. And obviously today they're giving me the go to go ahead and share this. And they just go on to talk about like just trusting. They say the more light comes into this place, the more humans will awaken, and the power must shift back to the light. This is what you are calling new earth. So this is like 6 pages, and I just literally just read you like 2 of the pages, or 2.5 pages. And as I continue to get more information, I will share this. I'm also likely might figure out how to write this into some kind of like a workbook or a book that you can download or maybe order to read. But yeah, this is just so interesting to me because to me it helps make sense of things in the world. And like I said, I hope that if you stayed and listened to this whole video that you are open to receiving this. I want you to not um I'm somebody as a spiritual teacher and healer. I want you to wrestle with this yourself. I want you to ask source. I want you to ask your guides. I want you to ask your higher self to bring you clarity, because you shouldn't rely on anybody else outside of yourself. This is just me providing information, like exactly how Jesus taught. Jesus didn't come to create followers and tell people that they had to only trust in him. He came to teach humans to trust in themselves, and that's my mission. I want you to trust in yourself, and so I share this information to help you to wrestle with your own ego and your own higher self, and to get clarity for yourself as well. I am going to end at that because this is a lot of information and I don't want this to be too terribly long. But again, if you would leave a comment if you have more questions, or maybe you have something that I can tune in and ask, or if you want to come join my Ascension membership, that would be wonderful as well. get to my website, angieharris.org, and you will see that under, I think, my services. Until we meet again, I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. And I send you all the universal love. Namaste.